Well, hello everyone. I'm Lori. Welcome back to Milkweeds and Roses Gardener. Well, here we are, 2026, and I'm sure you have been busy planning for the upcoming garden season, just like I have been. I've got some seeds now from the mail, although it's still too early to start any seeds for the garden here in my Zone 5B garden. Usually I wait till March, at least, to start. That still gives them plenty of a head start, and I at most have to transplant them once before I put them outside. The safest bet out here in my garden to transplant new seedlings that have been hardened off is frankly probably May. I have rushed it before and paid the price. But I've got all kinds of things from poppies, which I'm looking forward to, and geraniums. I haven't grown those from seed before, but I guess it's pretty easy. And I've got plenty of geraniums that I have saved from last year, but these are some different varieties. And why not? Geraniums are something that gives you a lot of flower power all through the season. And if I can get a jump start and get them flowering, then it means fewer of those to lug back inside. You got to plan for the future, am I right? And speaking of planning for the future, I saw a podcast, or heard a podcast actually, with Oprah, and she was interviewing an author, Jennifer Wallace, and she was talking about her new book, Mattering. And it has to do with finding your, this is the Crib Notes version, I guess, but finding your purpose in life and knowing the difference between what brings you intrinsic value, like inner value, versus extrinsic value. There are things that a lot of people value, especially in this day and age, whether it's having a big house and a fancy car and a big paycheck and tons of likes and shares and all that on social media, their looks. There are plenty of beautiful, talented women that, and a couple that are friends of mine that have spent an inordinate amount of money on plastic surgery. You do you, totally fine. I understand that, and I'm not making any sort of judgment on that one. I'm just saying it's not for me because I see that as an extrinsic value. The how you look is something that has extrinsic or external value. But I had a girlfriend who spent a lot of money on plastic surgery and was always fussing about how she looked and what she weighed. And at the end of the day, I'm not sure that really gave her any inner peace, which is really a shame. I think of things, and we should all be thinking of things, the work we do, the relationships we have, the connections we make. Doesn't have to be big things, can be small things that might add to our internal or intrinsic value. And what is that for you? For me, it's something I had to really think about when I retired. Now, I've been retired for, I can't believe it, it's been 6 years now. Time flies. But leading up to my retirement, which I was in I had two very high-profile careers here in Iowa. And I can tell you that being a TV news broadcaster and ratings and connections and celebrity, big fish in a small pond anyway, that gave a lot of extrinsic value. At one point I had my face on a bus and on a billboard, and it was actually pretty crazy. But for a small town kid, a middle child who grew up on an isolated hog farm, I valued that. And I thought that what I did was who I was. And then I got into public relations and still did a lot of TV work for the largest agriculture company in the state, and really enjoyed, what I enjoyed most and valued most about that was doing something that I created called the Iowa Minute. And it's not because it was on TV in all the stations, but it's because I got to travel to different farms all across the state and meet farmers of every type and size and build value and build connection with them and tell their story. That made me feel good. It gave me intrinsic value. And I realized and I felt like I mattered. So then flash forward to retiring, and it's hard to know what retirement is like until you're actually in it. But I made a point in 2019 or so becoming a master gardener because I had a plan moving forward and I knew what I wanted to do. I knew what I wanted to do was build connection in a field that interested me. Now, I come from a farm family, so growing things is something that's interesting to me. Wildlife is interesting to me. The environment, conservation is interesting to me. It makes me feel good when I'm in the middle of it and feeling like I'm making a difference. It gives me intrinsic value. And gardening to a lot of people might just be external or extrinsic, like how does your garden look? How many flowers do you have? Do you have seasonal interest? Do you have winter interest? But wildlife gardening to me is making a difference, mattering every day. I know that I matter, for example, to the community cats that I keep sheltered and fed when in the most brutal of Iowa weather. I mean, they are fat and sassy and keeping the mouse population down and the rabbit population down in the summer, which benefits my garden, of course, but also it keeps them healthy. And also keeping the birds fed year-round makes me feel like I matter, just even if it's just looking out the window and watching their antics. Having a wildlife garden matters to me. And those things have a value because let's face it, gardening can be a heartbreak. The things you invest in, the tree that you work so hard to plant, maybe it works, maybe it doesn't. I mean, having to roll with it, or unpredictable weather, that's just part of gardening. But the effort is what matters. Building connections with fellow gardeners. I'm in 2 gardening clubs. And meeting other people who care about wildlife and conservation and pollinators and even just pretty flowers. That matters. And we talk about stuff. You know, and hey, being a pet parent to the most spoiled shelter animals in the world, definitely I know I matter to them. That's why they get me up at 5 o'clock in the morning when it's time to eat, because that matters. But it got me thinking about what matters to you when it comes to gardening in 2026. Is it picking out seed packets that you think will improve the aesthetics of your garden? You know, maybe so. But being here on YouTube and meeting you and conversing with you also matters. So it's just food for thought, I guess, as we go into this new gardening season. Even if we're not out there digging in the dirt in weather that doesn't cooperate, it's the effort and the plan and the purpose that matters. And that's why I garden. You know, I look back even at the pictures of things in different seasons, in the spring, with the beautiful flowers out there, the birds raising their young, digging and looking for bulbs, seeing what's coming up, dividing plants, nurturing pollinators, even just watching my dogs lay out in the sun and enjoy the warmth of summer. Makes me feel good. So think about it. Why are you gardening? What is your purpose, whether you've retired or not? It's just something good to maybe even if you just jot it down on a piece of paper and post it by your desk or by your door every time you have to go outside and weed. It's a good reminder when things get tough or the weather doesn't cooperate or the seasons get really long like they do here in the winter. Think about why you garden. And I hope you realize that what you're doing does matter. Even if it's building connections and joining a garden club, which I do encourage you to do. I want to thank you for joining me here. Let me know how things are coming together for your garden in 2026. How you find enjoyment gardening, even in days like this when it's too cold to get outside. I mean, it's about 10 below with wind chill right now. But you know what? Just looking outside and watching the squirrels frolic and the birds pick up some seed and the sun shining, just feels good, even just looking out the window. So I hope you find that purpose too. Well, keep me posted. Looking forward to the new season and warmer weather and starting some of those seeds. That'll be exciting. I do hope that you subscribe. And let's stay connected. See you soon.